CreativeMRY. Thank you, everybody, to Creative Mornings Monterey Peninsula, August 2025. Today marks our 2-year anniversary. We've been meeting here at Wave Street Studios and sometimes other places and having a ball putting on programs with keynote speakers from not just this community, but all around. And today's keynote speaker has driven all the way from Los Angeles to be here today to give this presentation to you, opened up by a local opening speaker. All right, let's get into it. So for those of you who are new, raise your hand if this is your first time. Awesome, welcome everybody. So Creative Mornings is just one chapter of 244 chapters worldwide. And we've been here for about 2 years. I am the second host, and I'm looking for a new host to take over from me one day. So you're a friend of somebody who's come here, and that's primarily how we get here is through friends. So please be an ambassador for our community and bring one person or two or several or your whole community and fill this room next time, because the more people we have here, the better the show is. Okay, so we are here lifting up the creative community. You could be anywhere this morning. You could be on your computers, working through your emails, or learning a new AI software that we have to do, a new little plugin for our website, all these things we have to do to manage our lives. But you're here with each other, and so take advantage of that. Have a great time, and then afterwards stick around for 30 minutes and pass those business cards out. So first want to acknowledge Adobe, our global partner for Creative Mornings. There's a couple things that Adobe wants me to tell you. They have this new feature on their website called the Adobe Creative Apprenticeship, and it kind of it's going to help you get your creative business off the ground. So check that out. That's enough for my commercial. You can check out these things. If you're a Creative Cloud member, you can take advantage of that. But there's all kinds of resources in there. You can build a portfolio. You can have like up to 5 websites. I want to promote also this. These are field trips by Creative Mornings. So things happen in person here or in our monthly talks, but you've all signed up for this talk, and so you have a Creative Guild account. And so you can sign up for these things called virtual field trips, which are direct-to-camera workshops. And they're all free, and they're all really high level. They're all really amazing. They're curated. They're chosen. So take advantage of that too if you want some education from the comfort of your own bedroom. So here we are at Wave Street Studios. Rhett and Judy Smith built this place by hand many years ago, and it's in a constant state of evolution. And they are in a new transformational stage. They're building out their new tea room, which is becoming a tea room during the day and a bar at nighttime. And they've got their water credits. Finally, the city has granted them the permission to use the credits they already have to put in a sink. And so, yay! Thank you. Rhett, you want to say something about that? Come here. Because I might have got it wrong. I'm oversimplifying it.
So my son was in preschool, and so he went to elementary school, middle school, high school, went to college, came back, worked for 2 years, and that's when I was able to get a sink from the city of Monterey. So if you think about like human existence, I raised a 27-year-old before I was able to get a sink. So this is so when you look at our community and it's not changed much and there's not a younger, vibrant situation, just imagine how that affects businesses everywhere. So I think that's finally over, but 25 years.
Thanks, Rhett. Cool story. So Wave Street Studios has a really great, robust website now. And you can go in here and you can see what kind of events that are going on. And their marketing channels are just bursting with all kinds of opportunities. So you can go on Instagram and you can see what kind of events coming up. There's like jazz shows and reggae concerts, and there's also private events and things like that. So if you have a business or a company that you're a part of and you're looking for a space that needs some kind of broadcast integration, but even if it doesn't, if you just need a cool space to have a prom, you can do that. York does their prom here every year. Also, House of 8 Media is our other partner. That's me, Mike Buffo. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm a video producer, documentarian, creative director. And I love working locally. You know, I could be in Los Angeles in the mix, but I already did my time for 6 years in Los Angeles. And I came back here because of the thriving, diverse community. And I love it here. And I've got 3 kids, and my wife, Brittany, and we live in the village. And I have a new member of my team who's here today, my new marketing director, Marielle. Will you stand up, Marielle? So this is Marielle. Make a point to meet her, because she's amazing. She's here, living here in Carmel, and she's a marketing professional, and she's looking for opportunities as well. So meet Marielle after the show. Okay. This month's sponsor is Everett Alvarez's Mission Trails Regional Occupation Program, our amazing students from Everett Alvarez. Let's hear it for them. It's nice to have some camera operators and a switcher and a person on the audio to dial in this whole production. It's really great. It's going to elevate our whole show for August. And especially thank you to Evan, who drove the van and organized them, and he hopefully will bring them back every month. Thank you, Evan. Today's theme is NOMAD. And to introduce the qualities of this theme is a lover, a king, a warrior, a magician, and above all else, a shadow Sherpa. Let's hear it for Randy Stovall.
My name is Rand Stovall, and I'm a local marriage and family therapist. And I'm here to introduce the topic of NOMAD and then our keynote speaker. And I wanted to first talk about Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey, and begin talking about Joseph Campbell's connection to Cannery Row. Joseph Campbell was really good friends with John Steinbeck and John Steinbeck's wife when they lived in Pacific Grove. So it's an interesting little tidbit. But the hero's journey, Joseph Campbell, as you may know, was a mythologist. He studied cross-cultural myths of all different cultures all over the world. And he found that most, if not all of the cultures' myths had very similar archetypes and characters, and the stories flowed the same arc, right, from the beginning to the end. And he talked about there was a nomad, somebody who was on a journey. They would meet a wizard or a magician, a princess or a queen or a king. They would fight monsters. There was these long arcs to the stories. But the first step in the journey, the hero's journey, is a call. And we either answer the call or we don't answer the call. But the call will come back. If we don't answer the call will come back. So the first step in the journey, as a therapist, the first step, when somebody calls me to schedule an appointment, when somebody calls, I recognize that they are answering a call, something inside of them, right? So for all of us who are on this journey, we're creative people, have answered the call and are on the journey, the call can appear like just some discontentedness, maybe some boredom, or it can be something tragic that has happened in our life or some event that changes the course of our lives. So this call that we talk about today, think of the typical character like Luke Skywalker, for instance. He lives in a little country town in a desert. It's really boring, nothing going on. And all of a sudden a wizard shows up, and a princess, and a robot, and a Yoda, all right? And off he goes onto this journey, and it forever changes his life, the course of his life. There's also, Bilbo Baggins. He just wants to hang out and eat food and drink beer in his little hole. But no, a wizard shows up, knocks on his door, a bunch of dwarves are with him, and they're like, come on, answer the call, let's go. And it forever changes the course of his life. And so that's what I want to talk about in introducing the topic of the nomad. The nomad is the person who is on the journey and who has answered the call. And I'm assuming that's most of us. And our keynote speaker, she has done and answered the call in her life is to document and film and photograph people who are on their journey. So people who have answered the call, their lives are beginning to change. They're on this journey with wizards, magicians, princesses, queens, monsters, Yodas, hobbits. She documents that. So she's a videographer and a photographer, and she documents her journeys to document other people's journeys. And so, without further ado, let me introduce our keynote speaker, Bernadette. It's all you.
Good morning. How's everybody doing today? Thank you for the warm welcome. How's everybody's commute in today? How long did it take you to get here? 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 40 minutes, 30. I feel like that's like that's the ideal commute, right? I live in LA, so anything under 30 minutes is really great. Every time I come up here, I'm like, the case for moving out is strong. But I started with commute because I feel like that's a really great segue into our theme for today of NOMAD. But before we get into that, I do have a favor to ask of you. I am an elder millennial. We have a little bit of a reputation for being emotional and needy. And my love language is words of affirmation. I don't know if you guys are familiar with love languages like quality time, gifts. Mine is unfortunately words of affirmation. And the way I would love to receive words of affirmation from all of you is to engage, smile, and just have fun with me today. Is that cool with everybody?
Doing great.
Great.
Thanks for asking for that.
You don't get what you don't ask for, right? So, the theme this month is NOMAD, and I found it very fitting. I very much jumped at delivering the keynote when I found out what the theme was because, like Mike said, I journeyed here. I migrated here from Los Angeles. And in the work that I do, I travel a lot. I am a photographer, videographer. I am the founder of Soul House Media. We are a creative agency for businesses, brands, organizations, nonprofits, and so that work takes me all over the country and sometimes even all over the world. And when I was even coming up with this keynote, it was a bit of a nomadic journey. Anybody who's come up with a keynote before can attest to the fact that it has many different iterations, a few mental breakdowns along the way, and then somehow you end up here on stage, and that is the journey that we all take. Now, I'm also a former journalist, so in coming up with my keynote, I definitely went down some rabbit holes about our theme today. And I wanted to first ask you guys, when you think of nomads, whether the concept or an idea of nomad or a person, what are some words that come to mind? Bus. Travel. Camel. Carefree. Goals. Now, when I like what you just said, because when I was doing my little word association game, thinking about nomad, I came up with wanderer, but not necessarily in like that free spirit, no cares in the world sort of way. When I was thinking about it, it was somebody who doesn't really have roots anywhere. They don't really belong, they just meander and wander. And when I was thinking of that wandering, first of all, I know nobody has really thought about it this way, but we all actually have nomad in our DNA. If we go back like through our ancestry, some ancestors of ours, some like thousands of years ago, I'm not an academic, I didn't go that far down the rabbit hole, but I did confirm that all of us have had nomads in our ancestry. And in that spirit of wandering and not belonging, I was like, well, how did they feel? How did we get to the point that we are here, that we're settled, we're rooted, and that we feel like we have a place to call home? How did we get from nomad to home? Now, for nomads, home was not a place. Home was stories. And that is what I'm going to talk to you guys about today, because I am a storyteller, so it is also very fitting. And I'm sure you can figure out that telling stories as nomads was kind of difficult. There were a lot of different tribes. They had a lot of different dialects. Communication was done via gestures, via drawings. And so there was obviously a lot of miscommunication that was happening. Now, I related to this part of the nomad journey a lot. I am actually a first-generation American. I was born to Polish parents who immigrated here from Poland in the late 70s, and my parents decided that I was going to start out learning Polish. So English is actually my second language. My mom had to go back to work very, very early on after I was born, and so my grandma from Poland came and essentially raised me. And Granny was not going to be learning a new language while she's raising a kid, in her golden years. So this decision is one that I am super proud of and grateful for now. But back then, it was very challenging. I went to preschool not knowing a word of English. There were thankfully 2 other girls who were also in my boat and were also Polish, so I had a little bit of company there. But while I don't have specific memories, body keeps the score. We all have heard that, right? And so I can still feel that like pain and anxiety when I was in the classroom with my peers and my teachers trying to communicate with them. In fact, there's a story that my parents told me about this miscommunication the day that we were learning animals in class. My parents got a very angry phone call home that night because the Polish word for seal is foka. I hope YouTube doesn't censor me. And so while that's, great material for my memoir and some giggles in the audience right now, I'm just thinking of little Bernadette sitting in that preschool room full of colors and drawings and everything, trying so desperately to communicate, foka, foka, foka. And so this kind of feeling of not being able to communicate my story definitely followed me through high school. And now there was an added layer to it, because even though by high school I was clearly like fluent in English, everything was fine, I still had kind of learned this idea that I was other than, so I was not one of the popular girls. And on the other hand of things, I was dealing with the fact that I was an American kid going to an American school, and my parents were not fluent in the cultures and the norms that came with that. And so I remember, I just wanted their support. I wanted to be driven, to practices and extracurriculars by them, and that wasn't happening. And so then, I just wanted to share with them all of the things that I was doing that were great. They knew what getting good grades was, A's and B's. That was never lost. But when I came home one day and I told my dad that I was elected editor-in-chief of the literary magazine, he was like, "The hell is a literary magazine?" I don't know if literary magazines didn't exist in Poland or if my parents are just uncultured. Never bothered to ask. But it reinforced this idea that I couldn't communicate and that my stories were not important to the people that I felt like I should be sharing them with. And so this all came to a head in about 2018. My boyfriend and I moved from New Jersey to Los Angeles. Any East Coasters in the audience? Yes. You understand how much I miss bagels and pizza then. Exactly, yes. And so I made the really smart decision to also simultaneously go full-time in my photography business at this time. So not only was I moving 3,000 miles away from home, but I was doing something, completely new with no market, no community around me. Moving 3,000 miles away from home is hard. Starting a business 3,000 miles away from home is even harder. So I joined a mastermind, actually led by a fellow Creative Mornings member, Rebecca Caffiero. Yes, we love her. And I remember we went to, she holds a retreat for this mastermind for all of us to kind of like get to know each other. It's very immersive, very, we're gonna get to know each other really quick and dive deep. And she brings in one of her best friends who does Enneagram. I don't want to call them readings, but she tells you what your Enneagram type is. Do we have anybody here who's familiar with the Enneagram? Number 8. What else do we got? 7. Yep. Okay. 9. Okay. So I'm going to tell you my type in a minute. But she called me out because I was sitting in the back of the room. Now, I, to this day, admit that I was in the back of the room because that's where the food was, and your girl likes to snack. But I had also put myself separate from everybody else who had like cozied up in the living room on the couches and on the floor. I was separate from the community that I was supposed to be a part of at that time. And when we got our types, I also got 9. And what the 9 is the adaptive peacemaker, which when I saw that type, I was like, wow, what a wimpy type. What the hell does this mean? Everybody else is getting like dreamer and achiever, and I'm the peacemaker. And I learned that day from the facilitator who was giving us our types that your Enneagram type can be both your superpower and your kryptonite. And so in my journey, in my quest to find peace, because I had learned these stories of not being able to communicate and feeling like my stories weren't important, I put myself in the back of the room and I hid from everybody else around me. And I think there's a lot of us here that do that, even if you're not an Enneagram 9. We're not sharing our stories. We are feeling like they're not important, or perhaps that we're not good or eloquent at expressing them. And so going back to nomads were not sharing stories that were perfect in order to find community. Nomads were sharing stories of survival, of identity, of vulnerability, in order to create this social glue that helped them feel like they belonged. So I want to do a little activity here. I'm going to call it Network Like a Nomad. And what I want a couple of volunteers to do is to think of some part of your story that you have kept hidden. Or perhaps this could be, actually, I would like to challenge somebody who doesn't usually get up to speak to share any part of their story. I know a lot of you probably, know each other and whatnot. So I'm going to challenge you to share a piece of your story that other folks in the room don't know yet. Who wants to go first? Just need a minute to think about it. We have a lot of memories from our childhoods. But let's think of a story of your identity, something that's vulnerable. Yeah, I mean, like just a few sentences that will help us feel grounded, more rooted to each other. Yes.
So one thing I remember from my childhood that, make it very short, adults, like my parents, they were not really present. They made sure that I had food and a roof over my head, but emotionally not available. And sometimes because they were not available, I felt like I was not safe in my environment outside of the house. So I learned from very little to take care of myself and be very aware of people's actions around me, or a stranger coming by, and just reading body languages. So I took that responsibility on myself and became very aware and cautious, because adults were not doing that. So even up to now, I'm very aware of what goes on around me, and I read body languages and people's, and I just, so that's what happened in my childhood.
Now, I saw a few people nodding along. You could relate, right? Created this glue. It created a sense of home outside of home, right? Anybody else want to go?
I find it interesting. At being Shaheen's husband, we've been together for over 25 years. Our 26th anniversary is coming up. Thank you. And we have a 17-year-old son, Adam. When I grew up, I was somewhat of a feral child. I mean, my parents were busy. They had 5 kids, and I was the youngest one. I was the only boy. So as they were at home dealing with my sisters and taking care of that, I would just sort of be told, just be home in time for dinner. So I did all kinds of things that I would never want my son to do. I mean, I would be down in the canyon in Carmel Highlands for hours just building dams in the creek. Little dams, nothing to cause floods, but, stopping the water and watching it flow over and building dams. Or I would be climbing through the poison oak with the dogs and looking for deer trails. Or either way, I would hitchhike from the bottom of the Highlands Inn up to the top of the hill just so I didn't have to walk up the hill. And I'd meet people. I met some very interesting people, but I never worried about my safety. And I'd tour them around. I'd say, oh, well, why don't I live here, but let's go up here. I'll show you some great views. So it's interesting that I had a similar sort of separate from adult supervision life. And I became very independent as well. Why is it that I struggle so much with my son's independence? It having worked for me, it worked for Shaheen. We need to learn from that and try to let go of our attachment. I think we're pretty good, but still, I just feel so different than I envisioned my parents to have felt.
Now, I just want to call out something that I'm like observing. I'm like, Shaheen is your name. I'm watching like everybody's faces light up with like smiles and brightness and understanding, empathy, curiosity. Those are not the same faces that I see when you're going up to somebody and being like, hey, so what's your business? What's your name? What do you do? I mean, those are obviously important questions that we need to be asking, right? They can be the introduction, but I think when we go, well, it's not even that I think. I know when we go deep, it creates that more of an understanding, more of a community between all of us, right? So I do want to take a minute for you guys to also share with each other what your biggest takeaways were so far. So go ahead and do that. All right, let's bring it on back, because I feel like we are kind of going on some other journeys outside of the takeaways that we had so far today. Anybody want to share? Yes.
Let's hear for all the kids who grew up in the military.
Ooh, yeah. Any takeaways about what I talked about? Yeah.
Ashley and I were just talking, just to follow up what you were just saying about it's so much more meaningful to just spend even 30 seconds talking about something in your life where you were actually vulnerable and it affected the whole rest of your life, as opposed, and you feel like you know the person so much more. I mean, I know Shaheen, but I never knew that about her, and I've talked to her many, many times. So it puts a whole different light on the person when they share something a place that they were vulnerable in.
I was when you said stories are home, and then hearing both of your stories, and I recently have learned the power of like story as connection. And when you think about those old nomadic cultures, they would spend the day doing really traumatic stuff, but then they would sit around at the end of the day and talk about it in the form of story. And they would co-regulate themselves by telling these stories and be able to process that trauma. And so I see it as like this way of helping yourself process, but also connecting to other people because of the commonalities between I'm still dealing with stuff my parents, from my childhood too, right? So I think it's a very uniting, powerful thing.
One thing I noticed about that is that when we meet someone and we engage with them just casually for a minute, there's a series of things we usually exchange, our work, our family life, whatever. But it's the same for everyone all the time. It's more or less the same category of things. But when you share something like that from your childhood, it sets you out. It helps the person who's meeting you remember you in a way that they might not remember you otherwise, because now you know that I like to build dams in the canyons in the highlands, and I'm the only person that did that. And it's kind of a unique characteristic that connects me to all of you and you to all of me. And if we all shared something like that in our first meetings, then we would all remember each other in a new way. I just thought of that when I was thinking about it.
And that's the whole point, right? Is to be memorable, to create something memorable, and to create a space of belonging. So this is actually how the process that I use when I'm working with my clients is actually, I get very Freudian with them on the first call. And I do not ask them about their business. I don't ask them about their mission or anything like that. I can find all of that on their website. I literally ask them to tell me about their childhood. Tell me about the relationship that they have with their parents. Were they tomboys? Were they bookworms? Were they pretty princesses? What brought them joy? I'm not going to steal your job, Ran. I promise. I'm not that good. I do think you do the Lord's work, but it immediately. Inviting that sort of conversation breaks down the walls. It disarms, I think, and it creates this sense of belonging, of home, and you can set roots quicker than you could if you just kept beating around the bush. And so, where I want to leave you with today is that, again, nomads were not telling, like I said before, they were not telling perfect stories, and their sense of home was not a place, but they were sharing stories in order to feel less alone, and so are you.
So we are going to move right into Community Spotlight now. And this is an opportunity for any member of our community to step up here and talk for 1 minute. And you're going to introduce a thing that's happening that you want these people to come to. It could be an event like a concert that you're starring in, or a book you're going to release, or it could be anything at all. Not a general announcement about your business, but about something coming up that you want people to attend in the near future. And we'll start a line over here, and we'll do like 5 or 6 of these at the most. And you get 1 minute, okay? And then also at the end, after you talk, if you can go over there, I'm gonna take notes on the titles you want on the screen. So I wanna get the date, time, the website, things like that, so that when we release these, there can be little shorts that we can put online, and you can share them freely, and we can all reap the benefits of sharing it. Okay, so you're up first, Mark. Here you go.
So as you know, I'm very shy and reserved. So I've started a new program called Self-Healing Through Movement. I teach a specific set of movements based on traditional Qigong and Tai Chi activities, and I'm now teaching that at the Intercontinental, just across the way over there, every Saturday morning at 9:15. And so far, starting in August, I guess we're going to start doing it at 1:15. So let's just go with 1:15, because tomorrow I'm doing it at 9:15. So if you decide to come tomorrow, it's at 9:15 in the morning. But after tomorrow, since we weren't getting good turnout, we're doing it at 1:15 in the afternoon over at the Intercontinental. And so please, if you'd like to learn how to move in a specific way to help increase healing, mobility, flexibility, decrease stress, decrease pain, please come and join me for an hour. I'm also teaching at the Center for Spiritual Awakening on Tuesdays at noon. So Saturdays at 1:15 or Tuesdays at noon, or in the Carmel Highlands area on Mondays at 2:30.
What's the name of this workshop on Saturdays at 1:15?
It's an exercise routine called Self-Healing Through Movement and Meditation.
Good morning. I am Valiana. I am a sound weaver, a sound healer, a shaman, alchemist, a mother, a daughter, a grandmother. And I'm having this wonderful event at Salty Soul Sanctuary Yoga Studio up in Carmel Plaza, up above Anthology by the bathrooms. This Sunday at 6:30 p.m. It's $40. And if you can all just close your eyes for a second. And just notice your mind. Sunday, you will have an opportunity to lay down, be comfortable, unplug, and be with that beautiful soul that's talking to you now. And in the background, you'll hear this celestial song. That will touch you deeply, and you will touch that essence of who you are, who you've been, and who you're becoming. And I do lots of different events all over the peninsula. My website, sacredsoundsmonterey.com. Love to see you, and thank you so much for supporting Creative Mornings. Blessings.
Thank you. This is for Bernadette. There you are. I didn't get a chance to say it when you were asking people from the audience, but when I was 11 years old, my piano teacher changed my life because she would purchase an hour of radio airtime once a week on a radio station in my hometown, and she would let her students perform on the radio. And that was pretty powerful stuff when you're 11 years old. You're on the radio. And so today, all these years later, what I'm doing now is a local television show because of that lady almost 70 years ago. So if you can do something for young people, very young people, that really gets to them, you can change their life. That lady changed my life because she found something in me that got me into the industry that I'm in now. So just keep that in mind. And the best ideas are in all these young minds, okay?
All right, great job, by the way. Can we just give one more round of applause? She was fantastic. Yeah. And stories really do bring us all together. My name's Nick, and I'm a wild man. Some of you know a husband, a brother, a nephew, a son who is on their journey. And maybe it's rough, maybe it's not. But as we learned today, the body holds the score. The body keeps the score. And if you know a man who's ready to ground down into nature and who needs to get back to his roots to be able to let go of whatever is holding him back, I'm holding a wild excursion coming September 12th through the 14th, where we're going to have a pack of wild men get out into wilderness to be able to reconnect with the roots of that nomad, connect with the roots of storytelling, and connect with the roots of that soul inside. We are going to be doing everything from whatever wild men do. I can't tell you because then you would judge me. No. So if you want more information, www.backtowild.live. It's for 18 plus. All right. Again, men need to be heard now more than ever, and we need to come together now more than ever. Okay.
I can't. No, you can keep that one because I have my own.
Okay.
Stay here.
All right.
So I did this excursion in June with another guy. There was just 3 of us. And, you know, going away from it all and leaving my phone behind and just being in nature and being led on a very intentional journey with Nick was very fruitful. I got a lot out of it. It was really transformational for me. I got compassion. That's what I wanted. When I set intention for that first night,
Yep.
I went through a journey and I got my compassion for myself and for my kids. That's what I wanted. But if you know a man who wants something that he can't get in his everyday life, go to the wilderness. Go to Pine Valley with us, with 5 or 6 other guys, with just the tools you can carry on your back. And Nick provides a lot of the supplies because this is his business. And get what you put into it, and come back fully and alive, ready to get back to your world. Okay?
That's it. $555, but negotiable sliding scale.
And it includes everything you need.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hi, everybody. My name's Adam Gordon, and Nick is absolutely right. Men need to be heard. So listen up. The hardest and funnest thing, before I actually launch into my thing, who here likes to laugh? Who here likes to have fun? And who likes to be surprised? Then I have the show for you. I'm a member of Monterey Comedy Improv, and we put on shows the last Saturday of every month at Pacific Grove Lighthouse Cinemas. This week, it's actually tomorrow, it's at the Carl Cherry Center in Carmel, but that's sold out. But next month on the 27th, you can come, you can laugh, you can have fun, you can participate, and it's the best and most fun 2.5 hours you can have in Pacific Grove.
And I just wanted to make this offer. I have a prompt journal. So it's an 8-week course with 5 people and myself. And I've written a prompt journal just asking questions over the years with people I work with. So I've kind of distilled all of this down into an 8-week prompt journal course. So you get the journal, write in the journal, then we meet for 90 minutes once a week, and between me and 5 other people, we go on this journey together. So I just want to make that an offer. It's available, and it's quite fun. So on Zoom. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, everybody. That's the conclusion of our program. So here's a quick teaser for our next event. Next month is September, and we have a very special style that we're going for. The theme is Blossom. And one of our community members started a speaking business from attending here and being inspired from the speakers here. And she's been preparing for this talk ever since. And so ever since then, so she's gonna go from there to here and inspire you all to do the same. So the theme is Blossom. So her business is blossoming, and she's going to tell you about her journey of going from an employee to a business owner. Okay, so she's making that leap. Isn't that awesome? Thank you, Gary, for bringing her here and introducing her to us, and then passing her to me to kind of mentor her to this process. And then we also have an introductory speaker who, Jonathan, who has a book launch, and he's also a member of our community. And so he's launching his book, and you can hear about his journey. And I think his book launch is like in 2 weeks. So he'll be right in the thick of it, and he'll talk about his blossoming of his business. So invite your friends. It's the last Friday of September, and we'll see you back here for the next Creative Mornings. Thank you, everybody. See you next month.